Drinking and drug use continue to perplex and trouble our society. One thing has always seemed obvious. Alcohol affects different people in different ways. Many drink alcoholic beverages all their lives without negative consequences. Others, sooner or later, develop life-disrupting and even life-threatening addiction to alcohol. Other drugs seem to have a similar impact on people. Some become addicted, others can take drugs or leave them alone. But medical scientists are beginning to find answers. For hundreds of years, it was believed that character and circumstances were primarily responsible for abstinence, moderation, or abuse. Today, the evidence indicates addiction is in part a physical disease caused by biological differences in people. Dr. David Olms has been looking at the medical evidence for more than 20 years.
The more I've looked into it, the more evidence that we've gotten as the years go by, the more and more convinced I am that alcoholism and all forms of drug addiction truly are disease processes. And that's what I want to share with you today. Some of what we've learned about alcoholism in particular, because it's the most studied of the addictions and it's the drug that more people are addicted to than any other drug, but also apply some of that knowledge to other drugs of abuse that we've learned about. Now, in order to do that, we have to have a definition of a number of things. First of all, let's start off with what's alcoholism if we're going to talk about it. And I use a very simple definition of that. To me, alcoholism is a chronic, progressive, incurable disease that's characterized by loss of control over alcohol and other mood-altering chemicals that are addictive. And I'll look at that very quickly, that definition. Chronic is pretty self-explanatory. That's something that lasts a long time. And alcoholism certainly lasts a long time. As a matter of fact, in the typical adult alcoholic, they will have suffered from the disease 10, 15, and 20 years before they ever seek help for it. So it's been there for quite a long time. One part of chronic that's not emphasized enough, all chronic diseases are characterized by a tendency to relapse, to get worse at times. Good example is arthritis. Talk to somebody with a little rheumatoid arthritis and ask them how their joints feel when a weather front's coming through. It's typical of that illness that it waxes and wanes. Heart disease, same thing. People can go around compensated with that, no trouble for years, and all of a sudden, a minimal amount of exercise, they have chest pains. Diabetes, taking their insulin, following their diet, sugars in perfect control. Get a little case of the flu, mild viral cold, and things go way out of whack. Progressive, that's real simple. As long as the addict continues to take mood-altering addictive chemicals, be it alcohol, cocaine, marijuana, I don't care what it is, they can only get worse. They can go see psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, marriage counselors, financial counselors, employee assistance program professionals. They can get all kinds of help. But if they don't stop using, they only get worse. That's got to come first. So it's progressive. Incurable. There are people in this world who would like to say that there are alcoholics and drug addicts who've learned to use their drugs normally. I've never met any. There were times when I've had patients try, matter of fact, too many times. I've had thousands of patients who spent decades trying to find a way to drink normally. Matter of fact, if you think about it, every alcoholic in the world has probably spent the better part of their adult life trying to find a way to drink normally. Common sense to me would say, if there was a way, somebody should have stumbled across it by now. And we've got 20 million alcoholics in this country looking for that answer. Some of them have got to be bright enough just to find it. I don't believe it can be done. And I think what I have to say today gives good reasons to understand why that's not going to happen. Because they haven't cured their disease. The disease is still there whether they're drinking or not drinking. And I hope to be able to prove that point. All right, chronic, progressive, incurable disease. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Characterized by loss of control over alcohol and other addictive drugs. What's loss of control mean? It does not mean that every time I drink, I get drunk. Very few alcoholics are capable of that. They don't have the constitution You get too sick. You just can't continue to do, you can't drink that way day after day after day. Even a Skid Row bum goes on the wagon at times. Loss of control equals loss of predictability. When I use my drug of choice, it's unpredictable whether that episode of usage is going to be normal, no consequences, excessive with consequences. That's all it means. I tell patients, you know, that people struggle with, am I an alcoholic or am I not? You really only got to ask yourself 2 questions. And if you're honest with your answers, you'll diagnose yourself. First question, did my use of alcohol cause major life problems for me? Any area of my life, physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual. Did it affect my job, my family, my health, my finances? If the answer is yes, that doesn't mean you're alcoholic. You've got to answer the second question. Once I realized it caused me problems,